All right, item 11B.
Item 11B, 2017 to 2021 Strategic Plan Update. Tim Wolken, Executive Director, Community Services Department.
Good morning, Commissioners. We're here today to provide you an update on the 2017 to 21 plan and the areas that we've been working on over the last 6 months. The plan itself was approved by the Board of County Commissioners in December of 2016. It really covers a variety of objectives that we'd like to accomplish during that 5-year time period to improve customer service for our residents. And I think overall we've done a good job of keeping up with the plan itself, and we'll give you some data on that here in just a second. By the way, a nice photo of the paint mines there behind there. Mm-hmm. The plan itself is broken up into 5 broad goals. You see those listed on the left-hand side of the screen. We further break down then those goals into 26 strategies and then finally 146 objectives. The objectives are designed to be very detailed and measurable outcomes, and that's what we were talking about today with you. When we launched the plan itself back in 2016, going into 17, we broke out the objectives to these respective years. And overall, we're meeting what we hope to do in those years that you see listed there for you. I did want to comment on the term launched. Many of these objectives are multi-year objectives, so there may be a planning phase, a fundraising phase, a construction phase. And so what we attempt to do is come before you if we've made a lot of progress on that respective objective. It may not be completed because once again, it could be multi-year. But overall, we feel like today we're going to provide you 15 updates. We think we've made good progress on those objectives and they look good to be able to complete those during the 5-year plan. So today we are talking about the 15 to the 31 objectives in 2019. I did want to make a quick comment on 2021. You just see one objective listed there as well. We planned on that because we knew during that 2021 we'd be updating the plan for the next 5 years, and that's about a year-long process to be able to do that between the public input process and the committee structures and coming back to you for input and final approval. And so we'd like to spend most of 2021 doing that as well, but there will be some wrap-up objectives, I'm sure, as we go through 2021, but that was the thought process when we put this plan together. Questions of me on the overall strategic plan?
Yep, Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the update. Appreciate it. You know, some of these objectives are kind of like something gets established, maybe some kind of policy or process or something gets established, and then you mark that objective as being achieved when you get to that point. And that's all well and good, but I'm kind of interested in what happens post that achievement, because if you do that between the 2 dates, the start and end date of this strategic plan implementation, there might need to be something regarding the monitoring of that to see if we remain compliant with what we were trying to achieve with that goal. So do we have that as part of this strategic plan about continuing to monitor and adjust as maybe we've achieved a goal, but then perhaps we might back off of that goal and fail to implement it for a while, and then we need to continue to look at it? How do we address that?
Commissioner, are you thinking of some sort of a wrap-up presentation in regards to the objectives themselves? So we do track it on the website at this point when the objectives have been launched and or completed, so we have that on the website currently. I'm not sure what else you would like from us in regards to follow up on that, if you could help me understand that better.
Okay, I guess it's about for some of these objectives, it's about achieving something. And then my question is, once you achieve it, how do you ensure that we continue to achieve it?
I understand. Would you like some sort of a wrap-up presentation at the end of the 5-year talking about the respective objectives and where they're at from a status standpoint?
Yeah, I think that'd be good. And I don't know if the other commissioners would be interested in that or not, but I certainly think that you could come and see me and talk about that. But if the other commissioners are interested, then maybe we could do it in a different forum if they have an interest.
Very good.
So, okay, thanks.
If no other questions of me, we will bring up Kirsty Anderson from Human Resources that will lead off on the first 2 objective updates.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kirsty Anderson, Human Resources Manager with Human Resources and Risk Management Department. Goal number 1 is maintaining and promoting a financially sustainable county government that's transparent and effective. And our objective number one for this really focuses on enhancing employee retention through competitive salaries, benefits, and a work-life balance. At the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, we had updated the compensation structure to include occupational groups to ensure that we are maintaining competitiveness with the market. And we're continuing to monitor market trends to ensure that we do maintain competitive with market salaries. And we perform salary studies and reviews as requested by departments and offices. In terms of competitive benefits, the Benefits Division annually reviews the benefits plan to look for enhancements and ensure that we're offering an attractive benefits package. Currently, in comparison with other medical plans, our benefits design is 9.8% richer than other IMA clients, and our per year spend is 17% below the industry norm. Is there any questions on that?
Do you have any questions? All right, seeing none.
All right. Our objective number 5 pertaining to goal number 1 focuses on planning for future vacancies through training and development of staff. Our training and organizational development specialist, Christine Middleton, has worked very hard to centralize training efforts to allow us to identify common themes and trends to enable us to actually offer our training to a larger group of people rather than just one person. By request, we're actually able to bring trainers in-house and offer trainings to a group of, say, 30 to 35 individuals, rather than just sending one individual from a department or office off to a training. And those 4 trainings listed there are just some examples of trainings that we had offered within the past year. We're also continuing to incorporate feedback and revisions to modify the leadership development program. The second class of that concluded June 5th of 2019. We've had 95 members of leadership thus far complete this program, and we have a third class beginning in September of this year as well. And then we also are continuing to expand the internship program and continuing outreach to colleges and universities. Right now, we are collaborating with the Pikes Peak Workforce Center to actually offer a paid internship for individuals that are enrolled in the work experience program. And this is actually at no cost to the county. One of our goals within the internship program was to expand into the trades and labor field. And I'm happy to say that we have had 2 successful trade and labor internships, and one of those actually did result in a hire. So, any questions?
Any questions? All right, seeing none.
Thank you.
Next.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nikki Simmons, County Controller. Both of the, or all 4 of the objectives I'll go over have to do with Goal 1, which again is maintain and promote a financially sustainable county government that is transparent and effective. Strategy C, Objective 1, support sustainable and ongoing funding for public safety needs. And of course, as we're all aware, we had a very successful ballot initiative in November, which extended the public safety tax through December 31st of 2029, and that passed very successfully. So we consider that goal, that objective completed for this period. Strategy C, Objective 3 is continue to strengthen the county's emergency reserve funds. We are attempting to do that through the 5-year financial roadmap. We have been updating you through our financial reports about how much we can add to our emergency reserves, and we are intentionally trying to add our underspending and our additional revenues to our emergency reserve. Our next step in that process is going to be to determine what our end goal for that is. What is a proper amount of an emergency reserve for a county our size, and make that our goal. So we need to do some planning for what that end amount should be. Strategy C, Objective 4 is develop a viable funding strategy to invest in county roads. Our 5-year financial roadmap by 2023 gets the funding to $16 million, which was an amount set about 6 years ago identified by our then Public Works Director as full funding. Going forward, we want to reevaluate that number and look to see where we need that number to be. As we know, costs continue to increase, but that's the goal. And so full funding by 2023, but anticipating that number will need to increase ongoing after that. But we have made a very significant effort to fund roads at a much higher level than we have in the past. And strategy D, objective 4, is enhance the county's business-friendly environment by researching the viability of creating a streamlined use tax process. And we have done significant work to work with regional building and made some tweaks with our use tax process over there. We've gotten feedback from the business community that it's working well. I haven't gotten any complaints, and we're very happy with the coordination that we have with Pikes Peak Regional Building Department on our use tax. It's working very well on our part. And so at this point, we don't feel that any revisions are needed. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions? All right, seeing
Thank
none,
you.
thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ryan Parcell, the Public Information Office. For our portion of this, Goal 2, maintain and improve county transportation system facilities, infrastructure, and technology through Objective 3, which is install digitally remote programmable screens in county facilities with consistently high public usage to provide information on county location and services. So for this, the County Public Information Office anticipates installing the programmable screens at the Citizen Service Center by the end of this year. We have been working with a contractor to do that, so we're in the contract phase of that now. We picked the Citizen Service Center given the high volume and the wide variety of services available there. And so we're looking forward to installing that here later this year. Any questions about that?
All right, seeing none. Now it's you. You ready to jump in there?
Right. Nervous. Right. Good morning. Brett Daniels with Facilities and Strategic Infrastructure Management. And I wanted to talk about goal number 3, strategy C, objective 1, is to develop a 10-year facility master plan to address major facility renovations and new facility needs. The DLR group was brought in December of 2018, and they've been meeting with all county departments and have done on-site visits for some of our major buildings to see if we can forecast what potential growth is for these departments, and also to see if we are utilizing our facilities to the best. Our space is, real estate is at a premium at this point. So they are scheduled to be complete by the end of July. And at that point, Brian will get with you to bring up a work session and to discuss what the findings were. Any questions?
All right, any questions? Yeah, Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Are we anticipating that work session will be planned for in July?
No, probably 1st of August, sometime
Early
in
August?
Yeah, they are scheduled to be complete at the end of July.
I see, thank you.
Any others?
Seeing none.
All right.
Next.
Good morning, Commissioners. Todd Martz with Community Services. Based on actual and projected population growth and public surveys during the El Paso County Parks Master Plan, it was identified as an objective to explore a northern nature center. As follow-up to that, the Strategic Action Plan also identified Strategy D, complete a feasibility study for the Northern Nature Center. We really wanted to, we know there's a need, we know there's an interest, but we really wanted to make sure that it's feasible, that we can accomplish that. So we've been in the process with the feasibility study, and we've been looking at a variety of things, including the location, potential partnerships and collaborations, public support, revenue sources, construction cost, and long-term maintenance and staffing. So we hired Altitude Land Consultants that's working on that right now. We anticipate the feasibility study will be completed within the next 30 to 60 days, and it should have a It's not going to have all the answers, but it'll give us more information so we can move forward wisely. Any questions on the feasibility study for the Northern Nature Center?
All right, I don't see any.
Thank you.
Good morning, Brian Boback, Park Operations Manager. So on Objective 10, we were completing an irrigation renovation program that will include replacing outdated irrigation equipment and reducing the amount of irrigated turf areas. So we hired a consultant, Tapas and Associates, in 2019 to perform an irrigation inventory and assessment of 4 regional parks. So we started with a sample of our larger parks in the system. They met with staff and we did site visits and went through quite a process to just get everything documented of what we actually have out there. With that, the age of the original irrigation systems range from 1976 to 1995, so that's 23 to 42 years old. I've also included on here just a reference of some information of expected life cycle of irrigation system components. So generally, they range from 10 years to 30 years. So we're well past that in a number of these regional parks that we looked at. So with that, the key findings is the staff has done a great job maintaining and operating the irrigation systems well past the expected life cycle. Aging infrastructure requires major system renovations, upgrades, and eliminating weak links. Technological advances in irrigation control systems are starting to limit availability and replacement of parts and supports. And so with that, the next steps we'll continue prioritizing infrastructure replacement based on irrigation assessment, development budget estimates, design and secure funding for doing some of these upgrades and renovations. And then determine irrigated turf areas that can be eliminated and converted to natural areas within the park system. Questions?
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So similar question to what I'd asked previously, just for the next steps part of this, what's your thinking with regard to timing? Is that something that's going to be conducted through the course of this year or travel into next year a little bit or what?
This year we've already started some of the upgrades and with some low-hanging fruit, doing that with control systems and communication systems and upgrading wireless cards and upgrading the capability to communicate with the control systems.
Okay,
And
so I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
A little bit then, I guess, is what you're doing is a little bit of an kind of a rolling process. So some is in planning, some's actually being implemented presently, and then you'll be just continuing to evaluate the remainder of that as time marches on?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions? Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just make a comment. Thank you. This is actually, as we keep seeing our continued growth and expansion of the county and the municipalities around, water issues are going to continue to be more and more important. So low maintenance parks, because we all love our parks and we want them, but we got to make sure that we're able to maintain and pay for the ongoing operations and maintenance of those parks. So the revamping and converting to something that's more sustainable, lower water usage, and lower maintenance, of course, is very important. So I appreciate all that work.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Crystal Latier, El Paso County Economic Development. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to an initiative that our department is working on in regard to goal number 4, consistently support regional economic strength. And that effort is strategy D, objective 3, which is add enterprise zone contribution projects that increase tourism. As a reminder, the enterprise zone and this program specifically, they are part of a state tax income credit program. And so really the goal of the contribution program is to create or preserve an environment that will help attract, expand, or retain employers in the enterprise zone. So you'll note there, we had 4 projects that are specific to tourism, ones that you likely know about: the Manitou Springs Heritage Center, Olympic City USA and that marketing and branding effort, the Pikes Peak Summit Complex, and then the Hibble Sports Medicine and Performance Center. And why this is important, because it allows local contributors to provide contributions to these capital campaigns. And in exchange for that contribution, they get an additional 25% state income tax credit. So it's a great example of a private-public partnership program. Just wanted to note that of those 4 projects, since they started, have brought in over $600,000 to the enterprise zone. I think you will see those numbers continue to rise as those programs and projects move forward with further development. And lastly, if anyone is interested, there are brochures at the top that explain the contribution program a little bit more and opportunities to participate in that. Any questions?
Any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Terry Frank from the Sheriff's Office. Christine and I are here to speak to goal number 5, striving to ensure a safe, secure, resilient, and healthy community. I think that the Beacon program pretty much speaks for itself now, the co-responder unit. They've been out on the road for a while and are doing a fabulous job with helping people in the community who are in crisis and have need of immediate mental health concerns. We hope that they're able to add a second unit to that team before too long, so that they can cover more miles and help more people, and that one deputy and one clinician aren't just taking on the full force of the number of miles they have to drive each month. The second part of this is the BASIC program, which was a program set up to identify people who were in the jail who had already been charged and were pre-trial, and trying to connect them up with resources prior to adjudication of their charges, and then having that warm handoff once their charges were adjudicated, so they could maintain a continuum of care. There are a lot of moving parts once someone's been arrested and charges have been filed, more than I think anybody realizes. And so it's a work in progress trying to find efficient ways to better identify the people in the jail who are in need of mental health services, and the best way to accommodate them while they're in the jail, and at the same time help them transition out of the jail into a similar type of program where they can maintain that continuum of care. I won't even try to explain or describe all the moving parts. There's so much going on right now that I'm sure most of you are aware of. And so it truly is a work in progress. We're hoping that some major changes will happen soon. Some new legislation is out there that hopefully will provide some guidance with regard to the mental health, or to the mental health hospital in Pueblo, and how quickly they get people down there for their services, and working with the courts to just track people, and so that we keep them on a steady path and not just let them languish in jail. There's also a lot of grant opportunities out there currently that we're hoping to capitalize on for some of these programs.
Good morning, Commissioners. Christine Burns with the Community Services Department. I'm here to speak on the Personal Recognizance Bond Program. If all remains equal, we anticipate about a 70% increase in the use of PR bonds from what was afforded to defendants throughout 2018 versus where we're going to be at the end of 2019. We've seen about a 60% average increase in the number of advisement docket interviews by pretrial services staff. That includes an interview, the pretrial risk assessment using the CPAT, Colorado Pretrial Assessment Tool, as well as making a recommendation report to the courts. Currently, we're undergoing a Colorado Association of Pretrial Services self-review process for continuous quality improvement of our program. And we know that we're going to see a rise in the increase in use by the courts of personal recognizance bonds, mostly unsupervised because of recent legislative changes. We thank you for the investment made in pretrial services for our community, our stakeholders, and our justice-involved individuals. Any questions?
Yeah, it seems to me we're getting to the point where we've made all the changes we can make that way in terms of PR bonds for folks that are in custody. We were over there and did the tour of the jail a couple of weeks ago, and I wasn't seeing many people at all in blue jumpsuits, that would signify they'd been charged with a misdemeanor, something that would be more likely to qualify for a PR bond. So I'm wondering, what's the strategy look like moving forward in order to kind of handle this inmate population that we have? It seems to me that we've made all the changes we can make in terms of pretrial release and things of that nature, and we're still at a point where we have an overcrowded facility.
So we're doing our best. The need for universal screening in order to help continue to reduce the population is a strategy that we're not quite there. We're slightly, anywhere from 36 to 40% of the advisement docket being reviewed. There also have been some national trends, some cases where perhaps the use of money bond might not be an option for us. If those changes actually get implemented across scale, then the use of personal recognizance bonds are obviously going to be a choice. We're going to either have to release or retain, and the PR bond is the release mechanism if you don't have a money-based bail system. So I think that there are definitely opportunities for increased use of personal recognizance bond that will help support reduction in the average daily population and continue to support the reduction of the average daily population.
Oh, so we still do have some opportunities with PR bonds to reduce the average daily population?
Yes, sir.
Interesting.
I can add on to that too,
Sure.
Sir. The blue jumpsuits are the misdemeanor people, but there's a basic agreement not to arrest misdemeanors,
Right.
not to bring them to the jail unless they're mandatory arrests such as domestic violence. So many of the people who are in custody on misdemeanor charges are failures to appear, warrants generated from a failure to appear or failure to comply. Now, the county bench has agreed in those types of circumstances where there's not a victim crime or a basic danger to the safety of the public. They agree to, after booking, an immediate PR bond. So the staff at the jail will execute the warrant, basically enter the service of the warrant, but the person will immediately be PR'd out. So it doesn't matter what time of day or night, they would be immediately given a PR bond. We're also working on a program so that somebody doesn't actually have to come to the jail and be booked anyway, they can still execute the warrant and the deputy can write and serve the PR bond from their vehicle. So that saves people from being booked in and then dumped back out on the street to find their own way home, while at the same time not being arrested on a minor failure to appear. Most of those are generated from a failure to appear on a summons. And, especially with the homeless population, when they get moved from place to place, the last thing they're going to reach for is that summons. And it just then slips their mind.
And as we've seen this program put into place where we're giving a lot more, much higher number of PR bonds, are we seeing a much higher rate of failures to appear as well?
So currently our appearance rate is at 90.43%. Last year in 2018, we were at 93.08%. That slight decrease, I believe, is because we are issuing PR bonds on a slightly higher risk population, but we are still higher than the average rate across the state. So
I would have guessed that would have been a lot lower. That's awesome.
thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Cheryl Peck, Lieutenant for the County Security Section. So I'm addressing goal number 5, Strategy B, Enhanced Security. We have heightened security for the county employees and county buildings by being able to add 6 additional security officers to our section. We have implemented we have improved our public relations and professionalism of the county security section through enhancing the training of our security officers, which has resulted in better security services. We have a heightened visibility and improved interaction and services with county employees and the public in and around the buildings through implementing patrols and customer services. We are continuously conducting advanced security assessments and improvements for all of the county buildings. We have established a monthly interaction with the Colorado Springs Police Department liaison for the county buildings and working with them on improving the security through them since all the county buildings sit within their jurisdiction. We have also improved management, monitoring, and upgrading security cameras and panic button projects for enhanced security. We're also upgrading cameras in the panic button systems at this time for several of the buildings, and we'll continue to do that through the upcoming years for the rest of the buildings. We are also providing a critical incident training for county employees, and that will be starting in August of this year and will continue into next year, and will also be provided for all new county employees coming on, and we will be doing refresher courses each year. We are also coordinating training and response between the security section, the sheriff's office, and CSPD tactical teams for those type of incidences should they occur. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kathy Andrew, El Paso County Community Services Environmental Manager. Our objective was objective number 2 under Goal 5, Strategy D, explore the establishment of a waste-to-energy program in our facility. In 2018, we did contract with Terracon, an environmental consulting firm. They did produce a report for us, and I'd be happy to send that to you if any of you would like, regarding the possibility of a waste-to-energy plant here in El Paso County. They provided 4 options, 2 of which could be viable in El Paso County. Return on investment, that kind of data. Capital costs for any of them are $30 million up to $400 million. Some of the other challenges that we face are where we would site this plant and the collection processes that we would be able to get the material that we need. So we have discussed with the landfill operators the possibility of partnering with that for the waste-to-energy plant on one of their sites. One of the landfill sites seems to be the best option for a place for this facility. So we continue to discuss that with them. We continue to try to strive to increase our recycling so that we have less waste here in El Paso County.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mrs. Chair. So I'm trying to remember, about a year or so ago, we had either provided a letter of support or a permit for a biomass energy production facility or something in the county, and I'm just trying to remember that. So if we can figure out what that was, because I'm trying to figure out why we couldn't utilize if that ever comes online. It might be something that doesn't come online, but I remember we approved something, or maybe a letter of support for a biomass plant that was going to be experimental, but
Yeah, I do believe that there was a company that was looking at that and wanted to know if we would support that. I don't think it has become online or at this point is considered to come online.
Okay, well, because if something like that comes online, it'd be great if we could then utilize whatever we can at a lower cost than to landfills, but to utilize it at a lower cost to the county. So, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd heard a little bit about that, Commissioner Gonzalez, that it became a little problematic for them to kind of make the numbers work within the process of trying to acquire a piece of property where they would do that work. So I don't think they were able to kind of make the numbers work. I do have another question, though. And that is with regard to some of the markets for recyclable materials. Because the market, my understanding is, with regard to paper products, the market has completely fallen out from underneath itself, and it's practically impossible to sell waste paper products anymore, or at least right now, because there's such a glut of it on the market that those that do the recycling and recycle this back into products can basically get this stuff for free. So there, I think all across the country, there's a big challenge about actually having any opportunity to increase the recycling of paper products at this point in time. Is that true? Because I've heard that.
Absolutely. It's not just paper. It's really recycling across the board, with the exception of probably metals. But plastics, paper, absolutely. Beginning in January 1st of 2019, China will no longer accept any of our recyclable materials unless they are less than 1% contaminated. Unfortunately, over the years, we have sent contaminated materials to China and other countries, and now they have decided that they're not going to take that unless we clean up our act here. And so that really has affected the entire recycling market, papers, plastics. We can sell some to other countries, Indonesia, Philippines, that kind of thing. But it really has created a glut here that where these materials are, there's so much of them now that they are just becoming, have no value. Unfortunately, here in the United States, we have not put the infrastructure in to create plants that can handle recycling and that can make products out of recycled materials. So we're just kind of stuck now in this bad plan here where we have some recycling, still contaminated though to some point, but we just can't do anything with it.
Right.
Absolutely true.
Thank you. And my understanding about that, I don't know if it's true in our community or not, but I'm pretty sure it's true in a lot of other communities, because I heard this recently, is that they are continuing to ask citizens to separate their waste materials, paper and plastic in one container maybe, and then everything else in another container. But since there's no market for the paper and plastic, both containers are going into the landfill anyway. So there's actually no value in separating them, at least at this point in time. Hopefully that situation will change. But I think that issue about the market and the ability to actually dispense with those recyclable materials does have somewhat of a play in what we do here locally and what we would want to do with regard to this objective. Because we might actually go through an effort that actually doesn't deliver anything to anybody. So as unfortunate as that might be, I think that's part of the reality that we have kind of across the nation today. And you've, I think, verified it.
Absolutely. Certainly there are communities that have absolutely stopped their recycling program currently because they just cannot afford to do it. Sad but true. Thank you, Commissioner.
Anything else? Thank you. Who's next?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Dr. Alexis Harper, the Criminal Justice Planner for El Paso County. I'm going to cover Strategy F, Objective 3 of Goal Number 5, partnering with community organizations to expand the reintegration recovery programs for formerly incarcerated individuals to effectively reenter the workforce. This goal has been achieved in a variety of ways, especially through the development of the Transition to Workforce Committee within the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. This committee strives to create workforce connections in the Pikes Peak region for residents with criminal convictions who may have difficulty finding employment. The idea is to help promote people who are formally justice involved to reinvest in the community. And through this, the risk for recidivism will be reduced, and we will be able to redevelop a mutually beneficial and trusting relationship between the ex-offender and their community. This is a form of what's called restorative justice and has components that focus on offender reconciliation. To some of the points above, this Transition to Workforce Committee meets monthly. They're very diligent. They have worked to develop an employer association that is now made up of more than 50 different employers that are interested in willing and hiring people who have felony convictions. Some of these areas of employment include staffing agencies, construction and industry agencies, and corporations. Jobs that are seasonal, and jobs in a variety of different trades. We have partnered with a variety of different local service providers and organizations to help assist in job preparation and retention, including the Pikes Peak Workforce Center, who has worked to develop new curriculum that helps focus on basic work etiquette training, and to develop job fairs for people who specifically have criminal convictions, as well as making sure that we're sharing a calendar of these events and these trainings that the Pike Peak Workforce Center hosts with probation and parole, which are the major organizations that are connecting these justice-involved or formerly justice-involved individuals with the workforce. So our next major step that we're taking within this committee is the promotion of connecting our employer association, that network of employers, with a network of ex-offenders who are qualified and job ready. So that's kind of our next step that we're taking forward. If I can answer any questions, please.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you probably know, I'm a big fan of this. I think a key component of a criminal justice environment is rehabilitation of those ex-offenders into the community in such a way that they can truly be reintegrated, and that includes having a job so they can be self-sufficient. So I'm highly encouraged by this, and I'm asking you to continue to do it because I think it's important, and I think it could be I'm hoping that it will be a great success in our community here, and so thanks for the work that you and the committee is doing.
Thank you, and we appreciate your willingness to have attended one of our employer association events that we hosted earlier this year. Twice a year, spring and fall, we try to have a nice breakfast or some kind of event to bring the employers together to hear from them and get feedback about the major barriers that prevent them from hiring ex-offenders. And unfortunately, what we're hearing is we're kind of getting in our own way, where probation and parole are requiring people to come and test or check in during business hours, and that interrupts the workday. And so that, again, is something that we're working toward changing by extending office hours through probation and parole. But Commissioner Vanderwerf, we were very appreciative of your attendance at one of those events, and of course we'll be more than happy to keep you informed of when those are happening.
Anything else? All right, seeing none,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Commissioner, just final comment from me. We want to thank you for your leadership and interest in the overall plan itself. It's easy for these to be set on the shelf and not referred to again. I think we've done a pretty good job here in El Paso County with your leadership of making sure it stays in the forefront and coming back to you and reporting as well. We appreciate the county administrator's support as well, too, as we go through this process. And of course, staff being involved as well. We've got a lot of offices and departments reporting today, which is great. And so our next step will be to report back to you in December with the other 15 for 2019.
All right, thank you. Any other last minute questions for Mr. Wilkin? All right, seeing none, thanks.
Thank you.